All right. Okay. Looks like everything's good. Okay. So I'm gonna do this in the milestones, I guess. That'd be the easiest way to do it. Um, so I have them here. Go through the project that way. Move this out of the way so it doesn't get in the way. I'll put that up. I'll do these. We'll start off with the showcases. All right, so I'll just show the first milestone essentially. I know this stuff was implemented a bit later, or it was implemented later, but the focus on milestone one uh, were the base features. From my understanding, it was pretty much just creating a foundation, a nice structure for the rest of the chat room project that I created with a lot of help. And it primarily focuses on the client server communication or server client communication and room management, like creating rooms, uh, joining rooms. I believe that was this one. I think it is. And just chat relaying. So this will start with building the project. This was later. This was the shell script from um yeah, this was the shell script that we created earlier on server. Um for the first milestone it was unique. You had to do other stuff to start the server. Um but as you can see the server starts here with that command, the shell script we just used. And this will pretty much ensure that the server's up and running and can accept clients. And it's on port 30, or sorry, port 3000 is where it's expecting clients to be heard from. And the room is created, and the room is called lobby. That is the main room, I guess. Uh, it's starting. I don't know how much more in depth I can go. But it's up and it's good. And now we can do this. It used to be you had to connect localhost 3000 slash name, username, enter, or I think maybe I have that backwards. Maybe it was slash name first, but regardless, that would be the way you would join as a client. But here we're just going to do this shell script for project UI. Here, hold on. Let me make a third one. Uh, Windows, because I think it was required that I had 3 of these open. So there we go. Uh, did I do the wrong thing? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, UI. There you go. Well, there's an error message for if you're trying to start a new server again. Okay. So here we are. It basically client is started, right? Yeah, before you'd have to use the name command and connect command, but now that we have this shell script, it pretty much sets it to do it here, the host and the port numbers. Um, and I'll show you in a little bit, but you can, milestone one was also about connecting more than just one client, and we have 3 here. Well, I'll show you in a bit. After they connect, they join lobby. Um, so let's just start this. This is mostly in milestone 3 prep, a lot of this. I'll go more in depth once we hit milestone 3. But username we'll do we'll do I guess left, leftmost. Actually no. It's kind of stupid. We'll do chatter 1, chatter 2, and chatter 3. Connect. and then it gives you a message that you connected. Check 3. Okay, so I will send a message. I guess this is, I mean, it's the bare minimum. It's bare minimum sending messages, but there's a lot of stuff in the background going on. Messages that are sent by clients like hi are relayed to all the other clients in the same room. So when this client sends a message, it's it's sent over there, but let's do / create room um cool, I guess cool guys. Uh-huh. Hello. Only the people in that room will receive the message. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading off my script. The server also allows the creation. Yeah, so the server is allowing these new rooms to be created so that you don't have to automatically or stay in lobby. This should notify, yeah, it does notify all clients that someone left the room. And in this case, it was the main room, which is lobby. These messages include the sender's name as an identifier. And then we can use another command / join room. Cool guys and chatter. Yeah. Chatter 1 and chatter 2 are in cool guys, and chatter 1 is notified that someone joined, which is hey chatter 2. Chatter 2 is going to get that message. It will only relay to these two guys because they're the only ones in the room, and not this one because they are not in that room. All right. So I guess this guy feels left out, so I'll show off another command here with / disconnects. Uh, Clients can disconnect without crashing the server. That was also a main point, I believe, in milestone 1. I think this is all you need. Yeah, you automatically leave the room. Oh, these guys aren't in the room, so they're not notified. But I believe you should be notified on server. Yeah, where was it? Clients remaining in room 0. Server thread, yada 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 yada. What am I looking for? Yeah, payload right here. Initiated that command, which sent the payload disconnect, which got chatter 3 out of the lobby. If the server shuts down, they simply get disconnected. When the server comes offline, clients can reconnect without issues, as shown here. That is correct. If I were to Control C this, all these guys would be disconnected. This was a bit brief for milestone 1, but it will get more in depth here because milestone 1 was mostly professor. But all in all, this demo of milestone 1 was the core function of the client and the server communications, as well as just managing these rooms individually and sending messages you saw with hi and hey chatter 2 and which clients get what based on the room they're in. These I didn't go too in depth, but these features are pretty important for the next few milestones as they kind of grow on these, especially the payloads and what have you, because I mean the commands were already established, but we are going to make more with roll and flip, as well as mute, and yeah, we'll get there when we get there. All right, well, going off that, we're on to milestone 2. Sorry about the little cut. I was just pausing it so we can get right back into this. But I'll join this for chatter 3 again. But I realized you could just do / join room lobby to go back to the lobby instead of disconnecting from wherever you were. Regardless, we are going to be going back to milestone 2 functionality, which is extending server and the client's use of payloads and commands. They pretty much encapsulate specific commands like roll, slash flip, and those kinds of actions. And also in milestone 2 was text formatting to bold, italicize, underline, and change colors. I implemented RGB, which is red, green, blue. So I guess we'll go through how this stuff works and how the architecture is set up for it. So the payload system, I guess, is important to talk about. This is um, pretty much, pretty much the main thing for the communication between client and server. The command from client, issued by the client is wrapped in payload, which here you can see the payload class, which has getters and setters for messages, ID, and payload type. There are a few types of payloads, including roll payload, which where is it? It has its own class. Same with flip payload. So here, I'll show you roll payload. This pretty much is going to grab the input and the result of the roll. Uh, where is it? I'll go back here. So the I guess we'll go in depth a bit more. The roll payload extends payload, as I said, and it includes fields for the dice input and result. For example, the roll command captures user input. It will wrap it in a roll payload and send it to the server. This is the payload class and where we define how data is stored. So now we're going to talk about the client-side processing. So these commands /roll and /flip are processed on the client side using methods that extract user input, as well as encapsulate it in a payload and then finally send it to the server. So process client command in the client class, I believe that is where it is. Control F, process client command. Here we are. Let's find the logic for, oh, this is milestone 1 stuff. This is where you were set your client name and stuff, but I think this is pretty much the username now when you're joining. Here we are. Let's just code here. So on this client side, when you were to type /roll 100, we use regex. This is just for the normal number, like 100, 200, 20, 5, what have you. Or flip also has its own unique thing where it's randomized 50%, 50% for heads or tails. For roll though, or I guess for roll, the command is parsed and a payload is again created with the information of the die or dice. /roll. I guess I could show you what it does. We'll do the first one I mentioned, where it was just the regular number, and then we'll do the else if, which is if it's in dice notation. This second part here is just so I'll show you. So there's a space between, but the rest is just setting up for the first one /roll. We'll do 20, and you should get a random number in that. Yeah, chatter 2 rolled 20 and got 1, and this is again relayed, or I guess brought relayed to the other clients in the room. We'll do it again just to show you. Roll, we'll do 100 and got 21. It's in green text just to show you that it is a command. I'll probably mention that more in milestone 3, I believe that's where we had to implement features to differentiate these commands. But regardless, let's go back and do the second roll, which was roll 2 dice 5. Which is number of dice and the sides of the dice, which is explained in these two code snippets here. This is for space, this is for not. Chatter rolled a 2 and a 1 and got 3. We can do that again. We'll do it in this one, just so you can see. Roll 2D, we'll do 7 this time. And Chatter rolled a 5 and a 6 and got a total of 11. So it gives you everything you need for that roll command. And this is the string message, or the set message, which is roll payload, which was here. That's where it was. Yeah, string, yeah. Okay. So server side wise, once the payload reaches the server thread will interpret it and invoke that necessary method in the room class, which is here. And this server will ensure the commands are properly executed and the responses are sent back to the clients, which we can see worked. So the process payload and server thread is going to determine the type of command, and it will delegate roll command to the room's class's process roll method, which calculates the roll result and constructs the response. Let's just show you that real quick so we can see the functionality of it. And yeah, there it is. I won't go too in depth because that was the point of explaining the code in the assignment I had to do. And this will bring us perfectly to the next feature, which is text formatting. This one was pretty fun to do, I guess. It was just applying, like I said previously, certain formatting to the text using bold colors, italicizing, what have you. And we have it set up so that you, in order to initialize, I guess it's not a command, but to do the changes to the text, you're going to need the ampersand symbol, and then surround that by the message. You don't need an ending ampersand, and then whatever it is, the case, whatever the case may be. For example, I, you don't need, you can do ampersand I, whatever the message is to have the whole thing italicized. Or you can, if you only wanted a single word, you could just do ampersand I, which will do that. Process text formatting method will process the messages for formatting before broadcasting it to the clients in the room or whoever the clients are. So let's just show you an example of it using italics. So hi, this should be in italics, and then we'll send that, and it is. And what I was mentioning earlier is italics, and it should be ampersand I, if I'm not mistaken. This part of the sentence will not be, though. Yeah, so that's some functionality. It's cool, and it is, yeah, so there is, I guess, 6 different formatting you can do, and you can't combine all of them except for the colors. obviously. If you want it red, it's going to be red. It's not going to be, the cases. So you can be bold, italic, underlined, and red. Uh, so I might as well show that. So we'll do I, and then I believe you have to do it like this. Although uh, RGB, so it'll be italic and green. Yeah. And then you could do italic, sorry, italic and B, which would be bold and italic, and boom, it's there. So it's going through, where is it? It's going through here, is bold, pending, and changing this to HTML. This is obviously more HTML. Yeah. All right. Oh, I didn't even show flip. So we'll do that. Um, where's flip? Oh, I'm in room, sorry. But okay, I'll show flip. I'll show flip a couple times. Flip. I guess the main point is this is to show the functionality of all this. So flip, again, flip is in blue, just to showcase that it is a command. It's just a little different. Flip, flip, flip. I guess we'll do this guy, slash flip. And then you can see heads, tails, 50-50. Let's see if we can get a repeat to show. Uh, there we go. Show that it's 50-50, not just flip-flopping after every other issued command. Uh, so, yeah. Milestone 2 is really about improving that communications for client and server. And these new commands, roll, flip, and the text formatting, this chat room application provides pretty dynamic experience, and along with the payloads pretty much carrying this, that payload system ensures these commands are properly processed and maintain this architecture we have for the client and server, their communication and functionality. Next, we will go to milestone. Yeah, okay. So for milestone 3, we've seen a lot of it already because it is these panels here. It's the connection panel, this chat panel here. Also all of this, well, not this, but the command issues with these being processed and put in green color, and these commands being processed and put in a blue color to showcase uh, that they're different commands, or at least they are commands, not just like typed out. So, I mean, I guess you could technically type that out, but from the command, that's the output is there. The flip is going to automatically be blue, and then roll is automatically going to be green when you do the slashes, when the slash commands for them. But yeah, most of it you have seen from Milestone 3, but the main thing was shifting it from console, or at least the CLI, to a GUI, a GUI. I didn't, but this was a lot of Milestone 3 prep stuff, which was pretty much connecting the server with the chat functionality, or the chat rooms. And this milestone it improved the communication, I would say pretty well, with making it feel like an actual chat room, because you can send direct messages, which, or, private messages is the description, but it's direct messaging, and mute and unmute. And these features, um, I believe it was this milestone where they were supposed to stay. I don't know if that was milestone 4, but they stay in the thing. So if chatter 3 were to be muted and leave, and then come back, they would still be muted for, let's say, chatter 2 who issued the command. Um, but so connecting to the server, this is pretty much connection panel. The Unite panel, this chat panel. I mean, I can rejoin. I can show you some of this stuff. We saw it in the beginning. If you want to go back and rewatch all those panels pop up when I did /run and then did the shell script. The chat room panel features a list of users in the room. It's here. Messages can be sent. Yeah, there's a lot of UI features out here. Send, for example, is this. Export chat is going to be milestone 4. I'll get there when I get there. And then this is obviously the chat area, and there is a bunch of customization options you can do for this, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Um, so I guess we'll just talk about the private messaging. Or I prefer DMs, direct messages. This pretty much allows users to send messages directly to a specific user by, and it's not a command. I need to make that very clear. It uses a prefix, which is the @ symbol, which makes the most sense, and their username. So this will ensure only the sender and the receiver get the message. So this is solved in clients. I believe it's right here. Yep. If text starts with @ which is what I just mentioned. And it is also part of the server, so the server knows what to do. It's room and server thread. But on the client side, this processing, it identifies the target username, which is @ whatever, that's the target username, and sends the message payload. On server side, room class will direct the message to the intended or the target recipient, which room, handle create room, process role, process text formatting, send private message here, sender, recipient. Yeah, so it should be prefaced that it is a private message, or at least that you sent a private message, and then the message along with whoever sent the private message, and then the message. Yeah, that's how it works. And then it also I'll just show you. We'll just do this. So we'll do @chatter, @chatter2. Hey man, I don't like chatter3. And then you indicate that it's from the room, that it is, yeah. So private from chatter1. Hey man, I don't like, I don't link. I spelled that wrong, but whatever. And then private indicates private for the sender, and then it indicates private for the recipient or the target user. And then there is nothing for chatter3 to get. We can do @chatter2, hey chatter2. And then you can see chatter1 does not receive anything. Yeah, okay. And then the next thing was, I think, mute, because we've already seen text formatting, I believe. Yeah, process text formatting in room. I mean, I'll just go over it, but yeah. Or sorry, we just did this. But yeah, this pretty much is going to establish the color blue, right, for flip. And then /mute. All right, we already established some beef with chatter1 and chatter3. So /mute chatter3. 3, you have muted chatter 3, chatter 1 muted you. This is also some milestone 4 functionality, so you can see how closely related those two milestones are. But let's see. Hey, everyone gets it. But if chatter 3 were to say hey, only chatter 2 receives it. Yeah, chatter 2 only gets it. Testing. So that's mute, and then we'll do slash unmute. And who did I mute? Oh yeah, chatter 3. And then we'll test this. Hey, still gets the message. Hey, how are you? Just to differentiate it a bit. And they all get this message. So to explain it a little bit, this mute and unmute command, it is a command by the way, so it's another payload, allows users to silence specific individuals. And then unmute is to re-enable those messages. On client side is where this functionality takes place. Yeah, mute, unmute. The commands will identify the target and send a payload to the server, just like roll and flip. The server will maintain a mute list, so that was here. Using, yeah, I think server thread. Is it? Mute action. Using the server thread class. I think it's, yeah. Mute list. Remove mute list. If mute list. Yeah, so this adds them to the mute list if they were slash muted, and then we'll remove them if they were slash unmuted. And I'll get into that later. But where is it? The mute list you can see is right here. Chatter 1, it's empty. And I was testing this before. Some of these guys still have people muted, but let's test it out with some. Let's go back slash mute chatter 2 slash mute chatter 3. We'll send that. And then if we go back to mute list, it's updated pretty much instantaneously. And then let's unmute chatter 2. And it was, as you can see, removed. Chatter 3 is still muted. And if they were to leave chatter 3 and rejoin chatter 1's mute list, it hasn't changed. So if they were to join, they still wouldn't get any messages. I'll go more in depth when I start focusing on milestone 4. But as for milestone 3, this pretty much changes the this whole application, this chat room stuff, by adding a pretty interactive UI and pretty user friendly. I mean, you can click enter to send messages instead of having to just click that or the send button. And it also adds some pretty necessary stuff to have a chat application like private DMs, mute, unmute, and some message formatting when you're issuing a command. So yeah, it becomes more interactive. Now on to milestone 4. Okay, well, for milestones 4, since let's just stay on the topic of mute. An additional feature would be chatter 3 is still muted, and they got the notification that they are. So let's try it again. See if we can spam this guy and be annoying. Chatter 3 is already muted, so the only person we'd really be spamming is ourself. However, if we were to do slash chatter or slash unmute chatter 2, since they're already muted or unmuted, it will tell you that they aren't even muted. So this will help with repeat spamming them the same issues, and that is what I was talking about earlier with uh, where was it? Where was it? It was in server thread. Here we can see add and remove mute, and these messages only these will make sure that messages are only sent when the mute status changes. So as I said, slash mute won't trigger twice and won't trigger the same message twice. Which we showcased. All right, and I think what else is next? Guess we can continue talking about mute with the mute list. As I said, this will add them to the mute list and remove them if necessary, or when those commands are issued. And then, yeah, their names are going to be sent. Well, their names are going to be saved on a file to server side. What you saw, it's going to be their name, the issuer's name .txt, and it will list out who exactly is muted, their username. Uh, okay. And some other functionality with mute is that if chatter1, or sorry, so let's check that mute list again, because it is saved. It saves whenever they're muted, and it will load whenever they are back in. And that goes for both this guy, chatter1 and chatter3, since they're both on the mute list. We have a server thread function or method, load mute list. So when a user connects, it will check for that existing mute file based on the username of the client who joins and loads, that file, what it contains, which is muted users. And when the list is changing, like when I remove chatter2 from the mute list, it will save. Save mute list will save that change and that file where the change took place. So let's just show you how that works. So I guess we'll just slash disconnect. So we are no longer in the lobby. Slash disconnect. Neither of these guys are in the lobby. And then we will connect. And load mute list should still be in, it should be loaded now for chatter1. We'll do chatter3 connect. And we'll do hi. Yeah, see, nothing was sent. Chatter1 can't see this, and Chatter2 can, but Chatter1 cannot because that mute list came back. It is loaded automatically. You don't have to redo it, which is pretty convenient. All right, with that being said, those were pretty much carryovers from Milestone 3, some additional features and some changes, but Milestone 4 is pretty much just like finishing touches, which makes sense for what those changes were. But for the final new addition that I was able to implement is the export chat, this glowing button right here. Um, yeah, so this will pretty much allow or enable clients to export their chat history to a file, pretty much saving it, and this is triggered using this button that we created. This export saves the history with a unique file name based on the current date and time. This should be in client UI, and it is export chat history. This chat panel.getArea.get components. This is where the actual messages are, so we didn't have to create a new list for anything. This export functionality uses a string builder to consolidate chat messages, only temporarily, and we'll save them to a file. The file name includes a time stamp, which is year, month, date, hour, minutes, seconds. This is just to help me because just to separate them so I know which one I just saved, because I will show you. I have practiced this before. There is a lot. Obviously, this is my first time doing it today. So it should be easy to find. And I will show you some texts or some messages. Hi, how are you guys? And then I'll show you some of the HTML changes. Hello, I'm doing well. Um, how about you? Oh, oh, I'm tripping. I two. No, it's one for red. How about you? There we go. And then we'll do a command slash flip to see if that indicates anything. And then we will export chat and we will get a successful pop-up or a pop-up that will say export successful and that txt yada yada yada. Okay. And that should be here. Thank God it's green. I'll show you all the stuff that just took place. Oh wow, it saved everything from that whole previous thing. I probably should have restarted it. But it shows you at ampersand, how about you? Because I made a mistake there. And then it shows the HTML. This is all the messages and all the who muted. Uh, yeah, it shows you private messages too, which is pretty sick. One thing I was unable to accomplish was the user list on the client side should update per status of the user. I was struggling with conceptualizing, or at least I guess designing where to input this, without having to, synchronize all the other files. I tried to keep it minimum, but it was pretty complicated where I had to change several files over and it would just cause more issues. For the first one, where's my mouse? For the first one here, similar indication, I guess grayed out. I originally tried to just utilize the rendering logic, or at least change it, for the user list items and user list items .java class, based on their mute status, which would include a visual indication. I wasn't going for grayed out. I was going for red because I already had red established in text formatting. So I feel like that would go easily. And I also think it was I think red was also TextFX, so I tried that to import TextFX into that to see if that would work, and that didn't really work. I deleted all the code, so it's kind of hard to explain my thought process here. But the changes were mostly going to be in user list item, and I guess I could show you the codes that I'm referencing. Um, user list item and user list panel, because this is where the users, this is, you know, this, so it'd be updating this, and I was unable to change anything, which kind of sucked, but it is what it is. And then for the second one, the last person to send message gets highlighted. Again, I had green text, I believe, so I was probably just going to do that. Well, I mean, I know I had green text formatting, but the plan, I guess, was to just, it was supposed to track the last user, the last client who sent a message, using, I think it was a flag, and in again user list panel, and then changing on message receive in client UI, which would help find the sender and update the 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 style in the user list, uh, which it would change. Uh, what's the term? Dynamically, this would have to pretty much recheck it and then revalidate every new message that gets sent by obviously whichever client is sending the message. But the changes there were mostly client UI and user list panel. I guess my main issue is that I just didn't have time to do it, but again, I just struggled with conceptualizing it properly. And then I guess I told you the concept of what I was doing, but actually doing it, I couldn't. It didn't work. Um, Tried it a few times. I set them up together one time to handle just you know muted users and uh highlighted the last person who sent a message in like together, and then I tried doing them individually and then making their own classes. Uh, Nothing, it wouldn't work. Like I spent a few hours on it. A lot of these other Milestone 4 features, pretty much just building on other features we already had established. So this one didn't, it just, it wasn't functioning properly. The main challenge was, I guess, like how to update it, how to dynamically update it, the user list without like, I updated something. I believe one time I tried updating the connection event y- and it just caused issues in client UI. So I didn't want to break client UI, obviously, but you have to understand that there's multiple users that are going to see different versions because it connects to their mute list, and I couldn't get that to work, and then I couldn't even get the text to change. And then yeah, I guess it was just real-time issues. Um, they would obviously most of these people. I showed you where they would appear in the code, but yeah, I would like to fix it, but I just couldn't. Um, but anyway, so milestone 4 is pretty much final features. I believe I showcased all of the features here for this application. Um, thank you.